All right, so I want to talk about that heavyweight matchup that's going to take place on Saturday nights on NBC between number 6 Ohio State and number 9 Notre Dame. The game will be on NBC, so it's classic Notre Dame on NBC. This game reminds me of that Alabama Texas game that took place a few weeks ago for so many reasons. Number one, we've all been anticipating this thing since you know May, June. We first started looking at schedules and making lists of the most interesting games of the 2023 season, the most impactful games in the playoff picture. This is one that comes to mind. This is one of the most significant games of the year when it comes to how the college football playoff picture is going to unfold later in the season. This is one of those games we're going to look back on. This is one of those games that the college football playoff committee will look at when making decisions on who gets in and who doesn't, because I have a strong feeling that both of these teams will still be in contention late in the season. Number two, it's a classic game. It's a classic matchup between two blue blood programs, two of the best, most perennial programs in college football. Notre Dame and Ohio State. When you think college football, you think these two teams, and it's just such a great Midwestern matchup. Bordering states, Ohio State and Indiana, just great Midwestern gridiron football. I kind of wish it's this very much is a Week 4 matchup because it's non-conference, but part of me wishes that this game was taking place in November because it would be cold. When I see the Fighting Irish and the Buckeyes on the field, I kind of want to see snow flying in the air because that's just a very Midwestern thing. Mid-November, it's when the snow starts. I'd like this game to be like a nice 28 degrees. Just real knockdown, drag out, cold Midwestern football. It's in September. I'll take it. You can't get everything you want. I like to get everything that I want. I like everything to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist, but I have to understand that sometimes I have to make compromises. This one is in September, Week 4, but it's still a great matchup. And there's another reason why this game reminds me of Alabama Texas. When we were talking about that Alabama Texas game, and I'm guilty of this myself because I made this pick. There's this perception that Alabama's just going to win this game because they're Alabama, because that's what Alabama does in these games historically. You have a high stakes, very important matchup. Alabama usually plays their best in these games, and Texas usually underwhelms in these games. Well, just because that's what's happened historically, just because that's what has happened, does not mean that that's what will happen on Saturday. You have to understand that at both these teams, even though, yes, historically, we would gravitate more towards picking Ohio State. We'd gravitate more towards picking Alabama over Texas, Ohio State over Notre Dame in this instance. Because over the past decade, Ohio State has been tremendous on these games. These evening games, these heavyweight matchups, when you're going up against Penn State, you're going up against Wisconsin, you're going up against Michigan State, or Michigan with the exception of the last 2 years. Ohio State historically is very good in these high-stakes games, and Notre Dame has crumbled a lot in these games over the past 10 years. But don't let that historical significance, don't let the history of the past 10 years muddy your perception of this game. Because going into the season, I was thoroughly convinced Ohio State was going to win this game because of that. They always have a better roster. It's Marcus Freeman's only his second year as Notre Dame's head coach. It is Ryan Day's been coaching Ohio State since 2019. He's played in multiple playoff games. He's coached a national championship. He's more experienced. Those are the factors that I would have looked at, that I would have examined going into this. But then I started to have second thoughts over these past several weeks, and I've watched Notre Dame and I've watched Ohio State, and yeah, so Ohio State is still somewhat trying to find identity on offense. I think they're going to make it work. Ohio State is one of those teams, they always get better as the season goes on. They do. Whether C.J. Stroud's their quarterback, whether J.T. Barrett's their quarterback, Ohio State always gets better as the season goes on. They do take early season losses. That is a common thing with Ohio State. They have a loss, they learn from it, and then they gain momentum as the season goes on. So yes, Ohio State's offense has looked clunky at times this year. However, I have no doubts that they're going to find rhythm and gain traction as the season goes on. They're one of those teams, they always age like a fine wine as the season goes on. However, this weekend's, they're going into South Bend. South Bend is going to be rowdy. South Bend is going to be jumping. It's going to be loud. The atmosphere is going to be tremendous. And Sam Hartman has had as close to a perfect year as you can have to this point. He's had 13 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, and he has really elevated this Notre Dame team from one level to the next. We remember Notre Dame for being, a very ground and pounds defensive team. They're able to air out a little bit with Ian Book, but not quite to this level. Sam Hartman brings the best out of this offense. He really enhances it. He moves the needle, and he makes this Notre Dame team look a lot more intimidating from an offensive standpoint than they have in the past. And you also have to consider Audric Estime as well, the man from Nyack, New York, which is about 2 hours south of my hometown of Brunswick, New York. So shout out to another New York boy out there doing the thing. He has been amazing. He just has a natural stride. His breakaway speed is fantastic, but he's very tough to tackle. If you don't know Audric Estime, you're going to know him by the end of this weekend. And Sam Hartman, I made a video about Sam Hartman this summer. If you haven't watched it, go watch it before Saturday. I said people are going to know his name by the end of the year because of the pedestal Notre Dame puts him on. And this is a game where I think next week people are going to know who his name is, and he's really going to be in that Heisman conversation because I think he's going to have a fantastic game. I'm not panicked about Ohio State's. They're going to get into rhythm. But Notre Dame is in rhythm. They're clicking on all 4 cylinders, and they're playing at home. This weekend, week 4, I'm taking Notre Dame by the score of 31-28. It's going to be entertaining just like the last game, but it'll be even more entertaining. I think this is a game that'll make your palms sweat. You'll be biting your nails if you're an Irish or a Buckeye fan at the end of this game. I'm going to be glued to the television set. It's going to be enthralling, but in South Bend, I think Notre Dame's going to make a statement. I think that they're going to beat the Buckeyes this weekend, and they'll be in the national conversation next week. People will really be talking about Notre Dame. If this game took place in November, I may be inclined to take the Buckeyes. But in week 4, given the trajectories of both these teams, I like Notre Dame here in South Bend. But I can't wait for a fantastic game on NBC this Saturday night, and I hope you all are looking forward to it, and a great slate of games this weekend as well. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.